This is Dale Wiley from the Dale Wiley Show. And sometimes you can plan for everything, and then sometimes your guest brings a David Amram, Dinah Shore, Bob Dylan, Sammy Kahn story that you just have to take down and listen to and just frankly be amazed at. And so now listen to that story here on the Dale Wiley Show.
Yeah, if you never heard the Bob Dylan story, here it is.
Well, tell us the Bob Dylan story.
Oh, okay. Well, very, very quickly, when I was executive director of the Songwriters Hall of Fame, Bob was being inducted in 1982.
Okay.
And one of the people that was also there to receive an award, a Lifetime Achievement Award, was Dinah Shore. And when Bob arrived, my then girlfriend, now long-suffering wife, and I went over to where Bob was standing. He was at the cocktail reception, but there was nobody near him because they were, it's the Songwriters Hall of Fame, mostly a bunch of blue-haired old ladies and
right.
men in tuxedos all gathered around where the bars were, scattered throughout the room. And there's Bob in like a brown, not a leisure suit, but it wasn't exactly, it wasn't a tux. And he wasn't wearing a tie, and none of his friends had arrived yet, and so and I'm sure that nobody would have been brave enough to go up and talk to him because it was Bob Dylan. On the other hand, I had no choice because I was in charge of certain aspects of the evening, and so I needed to introduce myself, and so I went over to him, I introduced myself, I introduced my wife, my girlfriend to him, and I said the immortal words, "Is there anything we can do for you?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, really? Okay, what is it?" He said, "I'd like to get a picture taken with me and Dinah Shore."
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I almost burst out laughing, but something said don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And about that time, Sammy Kahn, who was, like I say, was the president of the organization, strolled over, and I said, "Sammy Kahn, Bob Dylan, Sammy, Bob would like to get his picture taken with Dinah Shore." And he says, "All right, let's go." And I know just because of the way Sammy's mind would work, it's all lyrics, right? He said, "Okay, well, let's go back in the kitchen." And I said, "What?" He said, "We'll hide in the kitchen. Somebody needs to get Dinah, and we'll take the pictures there."
Okay.
And before the press discovers what's going on.
Right.
And so we had a bunch of minions running around taking care of things for us, and so I grabbed one. I said, "Go find Dinah Shore. Bring her to the kitchen." And it's like, and someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Yeah. And so me, my girlfriend, Bob Dylan, and Sammy Kahn. There's a quartet. The four of us go to the convention. The kitchen of the New York Hilton Hotel, I believe it was that year, and we're back there in the kitchen, and I can see coming down the hallway is my little minion with Dinah Shore, and they're both running, and they come running into the kitchen, and Sammy introduces Dinah to Bob, and then we find this really nice backdrop right outside the kitchen door, and I said, "Okay, this will work," and I had one of the other minions grab Sam Kaiser, who was the official Hall of Fame photographer, and so he showed up. And so there we all are, and the photographer takes pictures of Bob and Dinah together, and then it was like this sound that I heard was like 1,000 motorcycles descending upon South Dakota, or a million termites boring through the wall.
Okay.
And I was like, what the hell is, and the doors burst open, and it was all of the paparazzi.
Oh.
Yeah, they had found us. And I mean, knocking people down, turning shit over. I mean, it was a mess. But photos, and those photos ended up the next day being in the New York Times and the New York Post, and a few days later in People magazine, and ultimately in Rolling Stone, and just everything you could imagine. And every last one of them had the same headline, which was "The Times They Are Changing." And there's a picture of Bob with Dinah kissing him on the cheek, and all sorts of just various. It was what it was. And so you have to flash forward a few months later. One of the people that was there that night was the great musician, author, conductor, David Amram.
Okay.
And David's a friend of Bob's. And David was at Bob's table that night, and I was almost as excited to meet David Amram as I was to meet Dylan. Yeah. But it's now like 3 months later, and I'm at the Philadelphia Folk Festival. And I see David standing. Backstage is basically, if you're on the other side of the fence where the stage is, you're backstage. If you're on this side of the fence, you're the audience. Right. And so I was standing on the audience side, and David Amram is standing behind the fence, and he goes, hey. And I look, and he's waving at me. I was like, oh, hey. And he comes up to the fence, and it's like one of us is in prison, and he's standing there on one side of the fence, and I'm on the other side. And he said, hey, man, you're the Songwriters Hall of Fame guy. And I was like, yeah, you're David Amram. He's like, yeah. He said, hey, did you ever wonder? He said, did you ever wonder why Bob wanted his picture taken with Dinah Shore? And I said, well, at the moment, I couldn't grasp it. Right. And I said, but in the days following, I realized, brilliant PR move. So much press out of one photo. And Bob had to know this is what's going to happen. That's why he wanted the photo with Dinah Shore. And Dave says, no. Absolutely wrong. That wasn't it. And I said, okay, I'm ready. He says, okay, so Bob comes and he sits down at the table, and I looked at him, and I said, Bob, Dinah Shore? Why did you want your picture taken with Dinah Shore? And he says, Bob looks me right in the eye and says, so my mother will finally think I'm somebody.
Oh, really? Oh, my gosh. Wow.
That's the Dylan story.
That is the crazy Dylan story. That is amazing to think about how differently we think of ourselves, how other people think of us.
Yeah. And it always goes back to your parents, though, man.
For more long-form interviews, please visit www.dalewileyShow.com for more of these interviews.